Welcome back, and today I regret to inform you that we are flying out the SM79. Now this is the one with 150 cal, you can see it on the top of the plane. It isn't fast, it doesn't turn well, the gunner coverage is absolutely asinine, and overall this thing really just has nothing going for it. And has been, so far at least, the worst thing that I have played. Now in the background you're gonna see the first game here, and I thought, oh, this is actually gonna be pretty decent, because if people are gonna pitch up for me like this, I might be able to kill them. And while that is somewhat true, it still completely isn't. Before we get started today, I do want to warn you all, for the people that didn't get my decal yet. At this point, basically everyone has it, but for everyone that forgot or thinks I'm gonna wait until the next sales, I'm gonna try to introduce the decal on the next sale. So if you do want to get it, be sure that you get it before it runs out. You will of course keep the old one if the new one gets introduced, but you won't be able to get it anymore. Now, this plane is a bit of a handful. It doesn't roll, it isn't fast, the armament is a little bit lacking. I mean, 150 cal is kind of okay at this BR, but it's basically unaimable. As you can tell here, the rudder just doesn't help you whatsoever. The gunner coverage is absolutely asinine, and overall the only thing this thing really has going for it is the fact that it has an air spawn, and most of the time that won't even save you. Now, even at 2.3, this thing is borderline unflyable. Even when people fly this poorly, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, Osama Risladen, it's fine to be bad at low tier, but even with these enemies, it will be virtually impossible to actually kill them. Now, I did a decent amount of games to get something, you know, worth looking at in the background. And I almost dropped the entire video because I just couldn't get anything worthwhile to actually show you. And then these two games in the background happened. Now this took a while to get, because I just had like a streak of 2 or 3 games where I didn't get anything other than maybe a hit. And I think that these games, despite me winning the fights, portray very well just how ass this thing really is. Now there is another plane on my radar that might be a little bit worse. It's in the same kind of boat as this boat is. And no, it is not gonna be a plane like the 162, which is actually pretty damn good. It's not gonna be a plane like a Firebrand, because that thing at least has some pull and has good armament. I'm looking for planes that have 0 redeeming quality. So all these planes that are kind of bad or not that great, like something like a Mystere, or something without guns like the B-57A. Those things do not qualify, and it's the same thing with the P-108. That would be the worst thing, but I don't think I can count a single barreled tank cannon as offensive armament that is made to shoot planes down. Now we merged with the Yak-7, and we are actually so slow that we are somewhat able to stay with him. Now notice that I'm trying my absolute hardest to keep this thing below 350 kilometers an hour, because if you touch that at all, your turning circle feels like it quadruples and you will instantly shoot in front of your enemy. So I try to keep it slow. Enemy dives away. I'm not really able to chase this, so I just try to get some shots in. We get one hit in and he's gonna dive away. We are going 400. We need to break over. I'm trying to get some distance here in case he pitches back up into us, so I actually have the ability to stall him out. Now it looks like he's doing it right here. He is somewhat pulling into us, so I think, well, I'm gonna put on some pressure here. As much pressure this thing can emit, I guess. The aura of this thing is basically negative, and really, it's a sad fucking plane. There's really no way around it. Now the nice thing is that you have 3 whole engines, which means if you lose one, you take a little bit longer to crash as when you only would have to, because it barely stays afloat with 3, let alone when you lose one. So the Yak-7 here is doing his absolute best to get energy trapped by me. So I pitch in here. We're only going about 350, which is about perfect. So I try to get the longest way away from his nose. We pitch on over, and he stalls himself out. I want you to just pay attention to how badly this guy wants to die to me, and I'm still not able to finish the job. Now he starts diving away, a little bit too much separation, and I'm forced to break off again, because if I go for him now, I will stall out, or I will compress, and I will simply just die. So I think about cutting throttle, keeping it somewhat slow, and he just dives away. He's absolutely petrified of the SM79, which is fine with me, because I'm also absolutely petrified by him. So he's gonna dive all the way down to the deck, and he's actually going to end up crashing in a bit here, just to give me a kill, I guess. He's out of the picture. We don't have to worry about him anymore. At this point, I feel like he might try pitching up for us, because we are going pretty slow. He's going decently quick because he just did a monster dive. But he's just gonna stay down there and kill some ground units. Fine with me. P63 comes in, the one that killed Razor a little bit ago, and we are gonna try and merge with him. Now we are above him, we are going 380, which isn't really enough, but I'm gonna try to pitch up over his nose and get this guy into super low speed. Now the P63, it's not a winnable fight, but if I get him to like 200 kilometers an hour and a little bit below that, his engine essentially ceases to exist. Now unfortunately here I ripped my flap off, but I'm still gonna be able to somewhat pitch into him, because even though he's much more maneuverable, because he's essentially stalled out and doesn't have his engine on when he's at those speeds, I'm somewhat able to pull in. Now here, it's nothing about what I did. He just took the absolute worst possible line he could have taken. He goes very wide, he goes up, stalled himself out again. So I'm going to try to do it again. I'm just going to try to get up over his nose and hope that he stalls out. He's going super slow, we are not on the deck. So I feel like he is not going to be able to pitch up enough. And then he tries to pitch into us, but he doesn't have the airspeed to complete the loop. So he actually starts stalling. And because he's basically horizontal, his nose flops down and he gives me another angle. And you are going to be seeing the P63 again in the next clip here. And that's really... I'm not going to say that this thing is a better dogfighter than the P63. But with the P63, there's actually something you can force. Like, my strongest attribute is my turn at 300 kilometers an hour. Which is not good by any means, but it's the strongest part about the plane. And the P63 is just absolutely terrible at those super low speeds. So this is essentially the only plane that I can reliably dogfight if the enemy doesn't really know what it's doing. And the Yak 7 crashes in the background. P63 is constantly reversing his turn back in front of us. And we're still barely able to kill this dude. We get another shot, we get some hits. And he's gonna reverse his turn again. All this guy really needs to do is turn in one direction. And this is why I say all the time, don't reverse your turn against a slower enemy, especially if you're out-turning it. Because right here, he's getting away from us, then he pitches up vertical. And when he goes vertical, he kind of necks himself, because again, I have a pretty decent stall speed, and the P63 just doesn't work at low speed. And at this point, I felt like he was going to dive out. I'm already zero throttling, because I cannot go fast. And I'll show you exactly why that is in the next clip right here. We hit him again. We're just peppering this guy and we're only getting hits. We're not even getting oil leaks, water leaks, fuel leaks. So this guy is basically undamaged. The P63 does overheat quite badly, especially with a little bit of a leak. But I just can't get any decent damage onto this guy. And it doesn't help that, I mean, this plane is basically unaimable and only have 150 cal. But, you know, I'm fighting for my goddamn life here, trying to get my guns on target. And this guy just keeps giving me shots. And I'm forever grateful of that, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to use this video at all, or even make it whatsoever. We miss another shot, we pitch in behind him, and if he tries to go vertical here, I should actually just be able to pitch straight into him, even without the flaps. Because we just have a decent turn at this speed. He is about to stall himself out, he doesn't have the energy, he's going way too slow. And now we get a pretty solid angle, and I feel like I will be able to just shoot this guy down. Now we finally get a leak in. We get some more hits, we take his wing off, we get a severe, and the job is finally finished. And there comes the lag tree. Now the lag tree is also going to compress quite badly, so all we really need to do is make sure that we pull in, and then essentially just get out of his nose at the very last. And now we are going to look at the absolute battle of the autism. This is probably one of the most painful experiences I've ever won in this game. And you're gonna suffer through it with me. First of all, we have Daniel Swift over here in his P38E. He's essentially stalling himself out. Started the game, and I have all the ammo in the world, so I'm just gonna keep shooting. I miss a bit at the start, then we hit a pretty solid burst, but he is barely even damaged. Now, would have been okay if this plane had any kind of performance, because the P38 is going super slow. And that's a plane that I don't want to deal with at low speed. There is no way in hell that I'm gonna ever beat that thing. It has good flaps, it has good power generation at super low speed, especially compared to this thing. And I try to loop in, and I'm going way too fast. You can tell here I'm going 430. My loop now is the size of the Earth, and I'm not able to get a shot whatsoever. But I feel like with the energy that I have, I might be able to kind of pitch on over here and force somewhat of a head-on. But then the P63 comes in, and yes, this is going to be the second champion of today. So we go head on, we shoot a few rounds, we don't hit anything, but again, we can keep this guy slow. We just kind of pitch up over his nose, we make him go straight vertical, and his engine just cuts out. Absolutely perfect. We loop on over, go for the P38. We have a squad mate that's about to come in, and the P38 is still slow enough to the point where we should be able to get another shot right here. We get some hits, we get a severe. Very clearly, he is barely damaged whatsoever, but I need to finish the job. The P38 is going to kill me 100% in the long run. The P63 is as well, but it's just a little bit, you know, it's more prone to mistakes in this kind of matchup. So I go up over the nose of the P63, make him go straight vertical yet again, drop the landing flaps, try to get inside of the P38 here so that he won't be able to pitch up into us. And because of the energy that he has and the position that he has, he's not really able to do anything about me right now. In the long run, he will start catching me, but for now, I'm somewhat safe. P63, same story. He's too slow, doesn't have any power, and we should be able to get away from him. Sniff comes in with his SM79 Part 2, and we're just not really able to finish the job because, well, he's not going to hit anything. P38 pitches right in front of us, and I feel like this is a prime opportunity to kill him right here as he's busy with Sniff. P63 is also running away from Sniff, so we have a little bit of room here. Sniff instantly gets disassembled, and I need to kill the P38 here. Luckily, they are both completely occupied with finishing the bomber. He's flying perfectly straight. I'm still barely able to hit him. I'm going 360, so I'm compressing like hell right now. And then we finally do some meaningful damage. P63 comes back in, pitch up over his nose, barely merge, rip the flap again, and we go straight vertical. Now the flaps here are luckily not a massive deal with a P63, but I would really like to have him right about now. We go into a bit of a sizzle, he's going super slow. We have a decent amount of speed, of course the retention basically doesn't exist, but we're gonna try to pitch straight back in. Now we should be able to get over his nose here. I actually try to go for the shot. But he rolls out of the way and I make the first critical error, and that is going down whatsoever. We reach 370 kilometers an hour and I'm essentially flying straight, as you can tell. And I basically instantly reverse myself, and at this point I think I'm dead. There's no way I'm getting out of this. Now luckily, this guy is an absolute genius and he's gonna miss the freest angle of his life. He also just doesn't have the pull to really get in here. And because we are going somewhat vertical, he's gonna have a hard time trailing me up, but he could have just pulled a little bit more at the very start when he was about to shoot, but he waited a little bit too long, got a little bit too close, and then he couldn't pull in anymore. So now I'm going to try to prop hang as much as this plane is able to, and we're going to wait for him to pass underneath us. And you can tell that because he doesn't have the energy, he doesn't have the maneuverability to actually complete his turn, and because of that, we are just actually going to reverse him just like that. Now we missed the shot here, we overpull a little bit, the plane has a lot of inertia, it's very hard to aim, even at the speeds that it's supposed to be at. Try to get a next to the shot, don't manage to hit it, start cutting throttle prematurely, and another P63 that is just absolutely obsessed with reversing his turn, and then he turns the other way and gets away from us. And this is actually the smart thing to do from him, because well, now he's gonna open up the gap and should be able to conserve his speed a little bit. But instead of doing the right thing, he actually switches up mid-plan and then gives me another angle. I'm of course not able to capitalize on it because this plane is literally unaimable. But again, he turns back into us, and because we are going a little bit slower, we should be able to get the shot. We don't, however, because we would have rammed him. So we just kind of reverse the turn, go straight up, try to go as slow as possible yet again, and try to pitch up into him. If he tries to go vertical, he simply dies, but he doesn't do that. This one is a little bit more bright than the previous one, but still, he decides to fly away. So he finally latches on or catches on to the fact that if he keeps reversing his turn, eventually I will kill him. Again, a little bit too aggressive with the dodges here, and it's gonna make it so that he's gonna stay relatively close to us. Now he sees this and he sees an opportunity to probably go head on or something, but I was already flying somewhat at him, and thus he doesn't get to do so. If he had done it, I probably would have hit him with a few 50 cals right there. Probably wouldn't have done any damage, but you know, it's the thought that counts. Try to keep it slow, don't want to compress, so we go vertical here. Hope that he goes up with us, because then he's not going to be able to get the shot. We go up over his nose, he's about to stall out, and because we are so slow, we are again not able to aim very reliably. So we try to get the shot here. It's an actual boat. We get a singular 50 cal on target. Of course it doesn't kill him, even though the P63 sometimes is made out of fuel tanks. In this case, The Bread of Shafat doesn't really cause that many fires, I noticed. He does it again, he's gonna disengage. Now, at this point, I feel like I'm just gonna have my entire time wasted, because this guy is just running around. He's just kind of making it not even hard for me to kill him. This plane is making it hard for me to kill him, and he runs away. Now, I can do two things here. I can go into a climb, but I need to be careful that I don't go too slow, because if he banks all of his speed like he is doing right now, I'm gonna have a bit of an issue. Now, it is a level 100, and this is why I always say level doesn't mean anything, because most of the games he did were in tanks. So don't start roasting this guy. He is just not familiar with fighting this absolute shitboat of a bomber. And I mean, who is? Now, he banked the speed here, and he is going to be able to go fast now, because it's a P-63, and essentially just pitch up into us. Now, I need to make sure that he doesn't hit us, but I also need to make sure that I'm not going too fast, so I can actually dodge. Going 380, so I am going a little bit too fast. Now, luckily, because of my position, he has a hard time actually getting the shot in, and we can pitch up over and continue to turn into the direction that he started in, so that he needs to turn more in order to get a shot. We get behind him. I feel like I almost have a shot here. I cut the throttle, but it picks up speed a little bit too quickly, and I'm about to reverse myself. I'm going 410 and get another singular hit in, get a little bit greedy, and we're gonna shoot out in front of him. Now we go just up over the nose, try to use the gunners, but this gunner coverage literally doesn't exist. Continue to turn somewhat, and he sets us on fire in a singular 50 cal. A little bit annoying, but you know, what can you do about it? We go up over his nose, fire is spreading, but it actually went out. Now we have him quite slow. The issue is that my engines might be better at low speed than his. When I'm missing one, I just don't have the means to really do anything anymore. The difference here is basically equal, and it makes it so that if they make massive mistakes, that I am able to somewhat get shots. But when I'm damaged like this, it's essentially over. But then I noticed something. He's gone pretty slow. Like, slower than I would expect. He cooked his engine trying to fight us, weapon throughout that entire fight. So at the end of the day here, I'm gonna win this game by not killing him, essentially, but by just keeping him weaping so long that he cooked his engine, and now he's gonna be a sitting duck. So yes, this is the most anticlimactic fight on my channel. But I felt like I wanted you guys to see this and just kind of suffer with me. I know that you like seeing me suffer in these boats. I get some shots here. I barely have any ammo. I'm just trying to get some hits in. I get a severe. I hit his engine there, and his engine was already cooking. So now we are good. We fly up over him, and I'm just going to try to use my gunner here to get some more shots in. But that's just no coverage. It's so ass. This thing is so incredibly ass, and I have no words for it. And yes, it's a bomber. Yes, I'm flying it the wrong way, but that's the point of this channel. Eventually he crashes, and we are gonna go and try RTB with the two engines that we have left. And really the only way in which I can convey the way that I'm feeling right now is to quote my GOAT Ronnie McNutt and say, hey guys, I guess that's it.